Well, I'm here today with Patti Glaza from Invest Detroit. Thanks for being here, Patti.
Thanks for having me, Gene.
It's really good to have you. Thanks for being the inaugural community interview that we're doing. That's really special for us.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
And we've known each other in the community for a number of years. We've even got to see some deals, you from an investment side and us from a development side. But we're not talking about development today. We're not talking about investment today. What are we talking about today?
We're talking about budgeting.
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 That's an important topic. A lot of people are interested in that. And it's not just every startup, it's really every business has to deal with this. So you do get a unique seat for this as an investor. You see a lot of startups, you see a lot of people coming and pitching stuff. And I guess what's one of the first things you notice about their budgets that they're presenting to you?
Right, and so when companies come to see us, they're presenting their vision of what they want to achieve over the next year or two. So they're giving us really optimistic numbers. And that's pretty similar to when I'm in a boardroom with the companies we've invested in. So the numbers that an entrepreneur wants to achieve, which is their forecast, versus what will they actually achieve, which I like to consider what should be the budget. So that difference between the optimistic revenue case and the, if things go good and as reasonable, here's what the revenue plan will be. And I think there's that real tension between wanting to over forecast revenue, which can lead to problems down the line.
So I should know what my best case is, but you're telling me I shouldn't take that best case and then plug that into my budget and try to live by it. That's not going to end well.
Exactly. So when you're budgeting and really understanding that difference between a forecast and a budget, really being thoughtful about what are my different scenarios. What's my, bad case scenario, what's my reasonable average case, and what's my optimistic case. And what I typically find is that most companies achieve the conservative case or lower. So again, entrepreneurs are optimistic and we want them to be optimistic because that helps drive their business and their vision. But when it comes to budgeting, really applying that conservative lens so that the company can succeed and manage through sort of that cash life cycle.
So make your optimistic forecast, make your pessimistic forecast, and then let's use the pessimistic forecast as the budget.
Budget, yes.
Okay, that's great. Well, so I do this at the outset of my process, and then I'm done, right? I'm just done with budgeting forever because I've done my budget now. Now, how often would you say we should revisit budget as a startup? And I know we both run businesses and have run businesses. What's a good practice there?
That's a really important point. And for folks out there, I'm not saying any of this from ivory tower. This is advice because I've made many of these mistakes as a CEO myself. And that ability to be looking at your budget and reforecasting, you have to do it, if you're not doing it every week, you're doing it every couple weeks to make sure you understand the position of your company. And I sometimes get entrepreneurs who want to delegate the responsibility of the budget.
I've got a CPA, I'm done, I don't need a budget.
Exactly. Or my vice president of finance, so that when you have conversations about, okay, so what's your cash position, or what does this mean, this extra big expense in equipment, or this new development project because something broke, how does that affect your cash flow? And if an entrepreneur can't answer that, a CEO can't answer that themselves. If they have to defer to someone else in the company, there's a problem.
That's so true. The responsibility goes right to the top, and you got to be there ready to address it.
You have to know your numbers. You have to know your numbers. Regardless of what help you have, you have to know them and you have to own them.
So do those budgets frequently. You said every 1 to 2 weeks, and I know we do similar types of things in our business, and that's a good thing.
It's a good thing, and it can seem overwhelming, but if you set it up appropriately and you use tools like waterfalls that help you really quickly from month to month change, and see the impact down the line. But you're always trying to understand, because unexpected events happen every day, every week, once a month. Just the magnitude is unknown. But when those big ones occur, really being able to look at your numbers and go, okay, what does this mean? What do I need to dial down, or maybe delay a hire, maybe, increase X, but really understanding what triggers you have in that budget that allow you to manage through the unknowns.
I love that. Start with the pessimistic budget,
Yep.
pessimistic forecast of the budget,
Yeah, revenue.
and then repeat it so that you can deal with the unknowns. That's great. Well, I know a lot of startups are really focused on, I've got to get that big deal. I've got to get that next big deal. They're focused on some contract, whether it's $10,000 or $100 or $1 million, that next big contract with some entity. And they're focused on that, and they get sometimes sort of myopic about it. But just because I've got a lead doesn't mean I've got a contract. And just because I've got a contract doesn't mean I've got cash in the bank. So tell us about this.
Yeah, so I often say the customer's willingness to pay does not equal the entrepreneur's need for timing of payment. So, especially as you get these bigger and bigger sales, your customers are going to take longer and longer to pay. 90, 100, 120 days to payment. So if you're thinking about that $120,000 contract and you're so excited because you've locked it in, you've got the paper signed, but then you're just waiting and your cash is dwindling or you've got to make payroll, and really trying to figure out and understand for your customer, when do they normally pay? And that's really important because that really can throw off a budget or forecast for a company.
So congratulations on the contract, but
Yeah,
how are
no
we
one
going
is
to
gonna
make
pay.
payroll next week?
Yeah,
That's great. Well, these are great thoughts, Patti. I really appreciate your talking to us about this and being our first community interview. Tell us just a couple words about Invest Detroit.
Yeah, so Invest Detroit is really set up to help entrepreneurs in the startup community in Michigan. So we're providing capital and programming to really help promote and give that early stage boost that entrepreneurs need. So we've invested in 110 companies and looking to do 15 to 20 deals per year. We're just really excited and happy to support the great community we have here in Michigan.
Well, we're excited about what you're doing. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.